Today we're going to be working on the 2017 free response FRQ release called Digits class. So make sure that you take the time to be able to read the description of the class. Make sure that you take the time to be able to read each of the pages before you actually start. Just kind of read through part A and the recording for part B. So that way you have an idea of what they're asking. Now let's start with the quick overview that they give you. So you will write the constructor in one of the methods. So in this problem, you're going to be writing down, implementing your constructor and the method, one method. And notice that the class is digits. They are going to be give you a private field that is an array list containing integer objects, and the name of the array list is digit list. Many times it's going to give you a condition. The number, the parameter that they are taking in is an integer. A is going to be greater or equal to 0, and that's what we're going to be implementing on part A, which is the constructor. On part B, we are going to be implementing this class. It's going to return true or false. And notice that you want to make sure that you read that and keep that in mind, that you're going to have to return a boolean, either true or false. It's strictly increasing. And we've done similar projects in class like this. So let's go to part A. So just make sure that you read carefully. So they are providing they are going to create a object. They're declaring an object. They name it D1. They're calling the constructor they're going to implement digits, and they're going to send in this case, a 5-digit integer. And you're going to process it, so you're going to be adding it to your array list in the same order. So it's going to be 15704. On example number 2, notice that in this case they give you a parameter of just 0, so 1 digit, and then therefore you need to be able to add a 0. You want to make sure that you read through this part, because sometimes they're going to give you a clue whether you need to be able to use one of the methods that they give you. In this case, you're just going to complete the digits constructor below, and that is the same thing that we have here on the right hand side. So let's see how we're going to achieve this. Now, something that you want to be able to keep in mind is that we have a field, a private field. We have an array list of integer objects, and in this case they declare it, but you want to make sure that you initialize your array list within your constructor. And we're going to do that by doing digit list equal new. It's going to be an array list containing integer object, and we do not need to be able to tell it how big the array list is going to be. That is the power of an array list. It can grow or shrink. And now you need to be able to think, okay, how can I get the 4 out of this digit? Correct. You're going to be able to take the number mod 10. Whenever you do mod 10, it's going to be the remainder. Whenever you divide by 10, it will give you the 4. And we need to be able to add that number to your array list, which is digit list dot add. So you have to remember that in order to be able to add items into your array list, it's going to be add dot add. And we need to be able to add the 4, then the 3, the 4, then the 0, then the 7, the 5, and then the 1. So therefore, I need to be able to go through a process where I go through a loop. I need to decide whether I'm going to do a for loop or a while loop. In this case, I'm going to do a while loop while the number. Remember that we've done this before, where we are once we let me back up a bit. Once we multiply 10, we're actually going to take the number. It's going to be the number itself divided by 10. So therefore, once you divide by 10, we'll give you just, once you divide by 10, it will give you 1,570. And because it's an integer, it doesn't give you a decimal place. So now what we are going to do, we are going to do a while loop while the number is greater than 0. We are going to go through this loop over and over again. So therefore, if we go through the algorithm, so let's start from the very beginning. We have a first, we need to be able to get the 4. So we have, and you want to make sure that you write down on the side 15704. So therefore, we're going to add the digit. We're going to take the number and we're going to do mod 10. And whatever the number is, we're going to add to your array list. So therefore, we're going to add the 4. So therefore, it will be a 4. Then we are going to divide the number by the integer by 10. So therefore, once we divide by 10, we end up with 1570. And then we go through, is the number greater or equal to 0? Yes. So therefore, we're going to go through this process and add the 0. Then we're going to do mod 10. We're going to divide by 10. So therefore, it chops out the next number. So we end up with 157. And we're going to go through and do the number mod by 10. So that will give us the 7. And we're going to add it. Now, do you see that something's wrong? Correct. Whenever we add it, we need to add it the 0. So if I go back, the 0 needs to be added to the first spot. So therefore, we're going to do 0 dot, and that way each of the numbers, now once we add the 0, the 4 will move over, and now the 0 will be added. Now once we do divide by 10, therefore we're going to get rid of the 0, and now we're going to take the 7 and we're going to add the 0 index. So therefore, the 0 and the 4 get moved over, and now the 7 comes in. So that is the key to this exercise. To be able to be aware that I need to be able to add it to the 0 location using your add method. And now this is going to continue, so therefore let's play out. So therefore that gives you 7 is gone. If I can do this right. The 7 is gone. So now we're going to be adding the 5. Then the 5 will be gone. And now we're going to be adding the 1. So is the number greater or equal to 0 once it's 1? Yes. So therefore the 1, what do you get when it's 1 mod 10? You'll get 1. So therefore the 1 will be added to, and now the 1 is gone. And now we exit the loop. Now one of the things that we have to be careful is that we address whenever we end up with we have a 0. Because it's not, whenever, if it's a 0, is the number greater than 0? No. So therefore we're just going to place a quick if statement here. And we're going to say if the number is equal to 0, Then we are going to add it to the list, digit list, add 0. And if you want to add it to the 0 location, it's fine, but it's the very first one, so you don't have to. It's actually going to just add the number or 0. Either one will be fine, since we know that the number is 0. Let's work on the part B. Notice that this is for testing only, so you don't have to worry about this. Most of the time, if you see this, you can just kind of close it up so it don't get distracted by it. On your AP exam, you won't see anything like this, so you won't be able to test it either. Part B. So in this case, we want to make sure we want to be able to implement this method that says that, here we go. The method returns true if the elements of the digit list appear in a strictly increasing order. Otherwise, it returns false. Correct? So 7 is only one digit, so it is in strictly increasing order. 1, 3, 5, 6 is correct. 1, 3, 3. Those two are not increasing, so they'll be false. So you have to make sure that you take that into account. And we've done problems like this in class during the mostly first semester. So how can I achieve that? Now remember that your array list has already been filled in. It has already been declared within your constructor. It's already been filled in. So now we need to be able to process your array list. And you can decide whether you want to do a for each loop or a for loop. Actually, in this case, which will work best? Correct. In this case, your a regular for loop needs to be implemented. So you're going to compare uh, the 1 with the 3. Now, one of the things it's always a good idea to be able to just write it down. So let's write down 1, 3, 5, 6. 1, 3, 5, 6. So this is index 0, 1, 2, and 3. So therefore, we're going to do a for each loop, a for loop, 0. We're going to do I equal to 0. I is less than the length of the array list, so with digit less. And you remember when an array list is a length or size? It's going to be size, and that's a method. The only time that's not a method is whenever you're dealing with a string. Then I plus plus. And you need to decide whether you're going to compare the index 0, the 1 with the 3, or you're going to compare the 3 with the 1. It seems to be the same, right? But that's a decision that you need to make. So we're going to say if the digit less, and whenever you're working with an array list, we're going to get I, which will be the 0. If the digit I, if it's false, if it's, let's say, if we ended up with the number 3156, we want to be able to break out of this and say it's false, and we are done. So therefore, is the 3 bigger than the 1? If it's true, then we said that we're going to return a false. So therefore, if I 0 is greater than digit less get I plus 1, if the 0 is bigger than the 1, or it can also be equal. If it's equal to each other, if that's true, then we're going to say just return false, because we automatically know that that is not in strictly increasing order. It kind of breaks the rules. Now we have an error in here. Well, otherwise, if it's going to go through the entire loop, and otherwise we're going to say return true. If it goes through the entire loop and it doesn't go into this if statement, then automatically it's going to be increased in order. So this is going to go from the 0 all the way to the 6th item. One of the things that you have to be careful is whenever you're doing a for loop and you have an I and an I plus 1, you have to take that into account because this is going to go out of bounds, and this is a very typical mistake that people make. So therefore, I don't want, because it's I plus 1, I don't want it to go all the way to the length of, or the size of the array list. I want it to go minus 1. And that should work. And I'll come back to this in a second. Let me see if I make any mistakes. Going to the server. Control A and refresh. Let me try again. And we try again. Let's see, it's not giving me any errors, it's not running anything. Refresh. So this is the method we cover. Let me go ahead and run it. And let me just confirm that it matches our output that we need. And 1570, 0, and true, true, false, false, false. So this works fine. So things to keep in mind is that you do need a for loop that is going to be in strictly order until you find one that doesn't qualify. Then you just return false, which will exit your loop and will exit your method. Remember that you have to return a boolean. But one of the things that I also wanted to talk about is that there's some of you guys that might have done it differently. So let's say we do for int I equal to 0, I is less than digit less size. I plus plus. So some of you guys might have done if digit less get I minus 1 is greater or equal to digit less get I. Now you're still going to run on the same problem. We're going to go out of bounds because if it's 0, therefore 0 minus 1 is negative 1. So therefore the other option is just about to make this a 1, and that should still work fine. So you get to decide whether you wanted to do it one way or another. Most of you guys will do it this way, but you have to make sure that you keep that in mind, and you end up with the same result. So email me if you have any questions. Have a good day, and I'll see you guys next time.